Thanks, everybody. My name is Sarah Griffith. Thank you so much for joining me today for my backstage pass into what I do as a lifestyle coach. I thought before I got into all these videos explaining how I run my business and how it could work for you, I thought it would be really important that I take a step back and kind of introduce you to who I am and just kind of make you more familiar with my story. So, some of you follow my Instagram account for clean eating, some of you follow it for fitness, some of you follow it for the journey that I've been on with infertility or my Hashimoto's disease. You're all here for a different reason. And I just want you to understand how I got here and just share a little bit of background information for you. So I will first tell you that I am happily married. My husband and I have been together since I was 14 years old. He was basically my only boyfriend ever. We met when I was in the 9th grade. He was in the 11th grade, and we have been smitten ever since. And he truly, I say this really and I mean it, he is my absolute best friend. He's the person in life who I want to spend all my time with, and it's every day is a blessing that I get to spend with him. It's hard work being married, but it is probably having the title of Mrs. Griffith is the best title that I've ever had. I'm so happy with him. So that's a little bit about my husband and I have 2 children. You see them all the time. I tease them that they're famous on Instagram, but you see them all the time in my feed. My son Carter is 5 years old. He's in kindergarten, and my youngest daughter Grace is 8 months old. So I have these 2 children, and now I stay home with them. But before I did that, I had a completely different role. So I'm going to talk just for a few minutes about that role, and then I'll kind of connect the dots as to how that role got me to where I am today and why I'm in the role that I am today as a lifestyle coach. So I was a high school business education teacher. I taught grades 9 through 12 for 6 years. I absolutely loved it. It was exactly where I was supposed to be during that season of life. I taught introduction to business classes. I taught marketing classes, supply chain. I taught different finance classes. Without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite interest in life is business. I love learning about business. I love teaching business. I love the fact that I was getting to teach young people about the world of business, and I was preparing them for really successful careers, and it was amazing. But then I had my son, and when I had my son, I should backtrack and say that I began pretty quickly after I started teaching. So 1 year into teaching, I went back to Penn State University to get my master's degree in educational leadership because I always had this dream that I would teach high school for, my goal was 5 years, and then I would migrate into administration. And then down the road, I wanted to be a college professor. That was the dream board when I was 19, 20 years old. And so for me, I got the teaching job. I was teaching and I thought, okay, you need to now start getting your degree in leadership. You need to become a principal so that you can get to that next step of being a professor. So I took classes on the side. Every semester I would take at least one to get my master's degree to be, as I said, educational leadership, to be a principal. And I got a really awesome opportunity. So I did my administrative internship while teaching at the high school, but then the following year, my administration team reached out to me and they said, we're going to be having this job come up as the dean of students. You should consider applying for it. So I applied for the job. I got it, and it was a big jump and it was scary, but I stepped away from the classroom and I migrated down to the main office, and I joined the administration team. And while it was really fun and it was a new challenge, it wasn't for me during the season of life that I'm in. I found that as much as, I was able to help and I was able to be a counselor and a mentor to those young people, I had a son at home that I knew needed me. I wanted to be able to be a mom that was there for him. I wanted to be the one putting him on the bus when he got to school. At that point, he was going to daycare. I would take him to daycare. I would drop him off at 7 on the dot. That's what time daycare opened. I'd be sitting in the parking lot. The doors would open, and I'd run him in. And I'm like, bye, I love you. Have a good day. And I wouldn't pick him up until 4 or 4:30. And I just felt like everybody else was raising my kid but me, and it hurt. It hurt in that mom guilt area. And I was like, this is great, having this wonderful job. It's incredible, but I just feel like I'm missing out on what I was called to do. And I feel like for this season of my life, I was called to be a mom, and I was called to be a full-time mom. And so I started to kind of think, like, how could I get home? Like, right? Like, how do you get home? Because when you're working this full-time job, the thought of getting home seems really far away, especially when your family gets used to a lifestyle of 2 incomes. There's no way that I'm just going to quit my job. And so I fell into my lifestyle coaching by accident. And I'll quickly touch on that, and then I'll just wrap this part to the video up. So I had Carter, and when he turned 2, I decided that, you know what? I'm still carrying around a few pounds of baby weight. I don't feel confident in my skin anymore. I was to that point where it wasn't baby weight anymore. It was more so just me lack of taking care of myself. I was stressed. I was grumpy. I made a to-do list every day that was this long, and there was nothing ever on that to-do list that involved taking care of myself. And so for me, it was my wake-up call that I needed to do something for myself. So I joined a challenge group, a Beachbody challenge group, and I did the program called the 21-Day Fix. You've probably heard of it. And right away, I lost that baby weight, but more than anything, I gained my confidence back. I learned so much about clean eating, and all of a sudden, I was like this person who was so into this healthy lifestyle. Never, ever did I go into this saying, I'm going to join as a coach so that I can change my career. Never. Never did I want to be a coach. I thought that they were selling on social media, and like I was a teacher, so I was super private, and the last thing I wanted to do was be posting on social media. So for me, that was like never in the cards, but I just started to love it a lot, like a lot. That, I started to scratch my head, and I was like, this is like teaching, right? Because you're teaching people how to be healthy. So maybe this does align with my purpose of being a teacher, and maybe I should become a coach. And then I started to scratch my head even more, and I said, you know what, you're a business teacher. So that means you're smart when it comes to this. You know how to do marketing, you know how to do advertising, you know how to run a business, and you know what it takes to be successful. So then I really started to scratch my head, and I said to my husband, I was like, I'm going to be a health and fitness coach on the side. It's going to be my side hustle. And he was like, yeah, okay. Go for it, babe. Whatever you want. And then little by little, my side hustle became my passion, and my passion became my paycheck. And buddy, after a couple years of being a coach, did it ever pay off? It went from, I remember I got my first check, it was like $312, and I was so pumped. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like 2 weeks of groceries for my family. Like, wow. And when you're a teacher, you live off of a fixed income. Every check was the same, no matter how many hours I spent grading papers or how great my lessons were. My checks never changed. So for me to someone just to hand me an extra $312, I was like, yes, this is awesome. And so that money then became fun money. It became, maybe, for a long time, I was starting to not have a mom, like a slush fund. Like, I wasn't shopping for myself. I wasn't treating myself to things. But then all of a sudden it was like, okay, you can be your own little sugar mama. You can treat yourself once in a while. And I liked that. And then little by little, it started to pay for activities for my son. And then we got to the point where, I was building this business after bedtime, and all of a sudden, this business was paying for daycare. I mean, my son's daycare bill was $800-900, and there were weeks when my checks were covering daycare. Like 1 week's worth of my check was paying for the whole month of daycare. And we started to get to the point where my husband and I started to scratch our head, and we started to say, hold on, like, there's some serious income potential here. Like, you need to pick one. It's one or the other. And I got to a point where my business had grown so much that I had to start to really say, what do you want to do right now? Because this has been placed in front of you, and it's going to be your ticket to being a stay-at-home mom. And so we prayed about it. We went back and forth so many times, and we got to the point where my income was surpassing my income with the school district. So it made more sense for me to be home doing this business. And so at 29 years old, I put in my letter of resignation from the school district, and I never looked back. I quit my teaching job. I quit my potential to have a principal job. I just left it all behind, and my gosh, was it scary. But I believe it was the right move. And so now I'm home with my children, and I work through the mom pockets of the day, and I'll explain that later in the training as you watch these other videos that I'm going to share with you today. But I just wanted you to know that that's sort of how I got here. I will be very clear in every video, and I will say Beachbody does not guarantee your income. There's like a statement from corporate that I'm supposed to read to you. I don't have it on hand at this very moment, but I will tell you that you're not going to get rich quick. This is not easy. This business is not something that you just show up, sign up, and now you quit your full-time job. Like, no, I didn't get lucky. I worked really hard. So I just want you to understand that as you watch these coming videos that, like, yes, this is awesome. And yes, I'm home with my kids now, but it's a lot of work. Hands down, it's a lot of work. So I'm looking for people who are willing to say, Sarah, I don't care that it's a lot of work. I'm a hard worker. And so anyways, that's a little bit about how I got to here. Just some fun little facts. I am a crunchy mom. My mom and my family think I'm crazy, but like I love holistic health. I love natural living, chemical free. I have Hashimoto's disease. It's an autoimmune condition. So you'll hear me talk a lot about my thyroid disease. And because of my thyroid condition, I dealt with infertility for a good 3 years. It was very difficult. And we also had a miscarriage after finally getting pregnant. It didn't work out. And I was pregnant from February to April, and then we lost that baby. It was really, really a dark time, a hard summer for me after that. But then I ended up getting pregnant with Gracie at the end of August. So anyways, that's just a tiny bit about me. I know this is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I want you to tune in for the rest of the day. I want you to watch the videos and see if this is something that's for you or if I'm the coach to mentor you. Because I'm not for everybody, but I am right and I'm a good mentor for some. So stay tuned. Thanks.